Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis, updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com, where I dive deeper into all of these topics, looking for potential investment opportunities in individual companies, looking at different sectors, and then trying to time my purchases as best as possible. And you can see that while viewing my portfolio and documenting my purchases. We do have Mayday coupon that is still active if you guys would like a discount. So let's dive in. Let's take a look, see what's going on today. The DXY strengthening. So we did see a bounce today, and we're getting some follow through with some strength. We'll see if that will continue. A lot of this will be paired with potential strength in yields. So yields, in my opinion, um, potentially drive currency movements. And it's the yields going up in America versus the yields of other countries and the monetary tightness across those different countries. But today we are up in the dollar. We had that nice little bounce off of a wick last trading session, and we'll see if that continues higher. We've got the 2-year yield also up a little bit, up 0.8%. Could this be a potential double bottom? I wouldn't call it yet. We got to see some follow through to the upside. But overall, bigger picture view, this has broken to the downside of the most recent upward trend line. Where is the bottom? That's probably where a lot of people are going to say, could the bottom be down here, or could it be somewhat closer to where we are right now? That is unknown. And that's what I think we are trying to figure out is how big is this pullback? How extensive is it? And what kind of slowdown are we dealing with around the world or in America? And that's what we're all trying to figure out. And you know what? Most people will never know real time. It's when the data comes out and things start to play. When things play out the way the data comes to us. So right now, the momentum is still to the downside for the 2-year yield. We've got the 10-year yield, which is also still to the downside. We haven't reversed it yet. Down day to day, 0.22%, and down in the 30-year yield, which is down 0.4%. And that actually looks like it wants to head a little bit lower in the short term. These have all broken these upward trend lines to the downside. So I do think that we are going to meander our way lower. How quickly? That's debatable. TYX TNX ratio, this is a ratio I look at, looking for precious metals, and that does look like it wants to continue higher, which will provide a tailwind behind precious metals, specifically gold. TLT, which is bond prices, continuing on up with those weaker yields on the long end. So bond prices were up 0.42% today. There we are, moving our way on up. We have broken a downtrend line. There's the downtrend line that we've broken, and those look good to continue higher for bond prices on the 20-year TLT. The 2 and 10, we inverted a little bit today. We are at 0.993. We are up 1%, but we are still working our way lower. The downtrend is still in place where this yield curve could uninvert, which we're doing. And that is generally typical of a slowdown in the market. Gold up $10 an ounce, looking pretty good. And I still think this will work its way on up if yields continue lower. So gold's already got a little bit of momentum generated, and we'll see if we can keep trucking higher. Silver's also up 1.7%. I think this is at a very good location for a potential move higher, which is broken out of this downtrend line. It looks good. To move on up, platinum up 3%. Is this the beginning of a big move? I don't know, but it sure looks good. Good, strong candlestick today, and hopefully the momentum will carry us through this 1030-ish level per ounce. And that's the trend line that we're trying to break, this guy here. Palladium up 4.8%. Pretty big day. Bouncing off support, the support line of about $900. And a pretty good candlestick today. We finished quite strong above the closing price on Friday, so it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. GDX up 1.24, GDXJ up 1.5, and SILJ up 1.29. The momentum is still to the downside on all these. They have not reversed these downward trends on any of them yet, but I do expect them to turn around so long that gold and silver start heading on higher. And they're all in very good locations to work their way on up with all the tailwinds behind it. XE to gold ratio was up 0.75% today. We are still above this trend line going across. Still looks very bullish. And yes, we were pulling on back, and that the short-term trend is still intact with downside momentum. But we're above support, and I do think that the tailwinds are behind all of this. Crude oil up 1.36%. It looks like it's trying to turn here, or at least go sideways, and we'll see what this looks like. This is probably the most, I'll say, the one I'm watching the most is crude oil, because if we get a recession, this is where we broke out to the downside. Now, is this a false breakdown, or is there further to run to the downside? And that's really what I'm curious and what I'm watching. Is how much downside do we have? Now, there's people yelling, $30 oil down here. I mean, guys, I don't know. That seems extreme. I don't think that we have a 2008 crisis on our hands. If you think we have a 2008 crisis, you have no idea what drove the 2008 crisis, in my opinion. The deleveraging that came from the real estate market is not anywhere near the levels that we have today. I mean, today is completely different. And it's not like 1929 where there was a deleveraging event there too. So it could still fall. It could still fall fast and hard. And that's something I'm watching. TTF gas up 1.95, bouncing off support. There's a little support, and we'll see where that goes. If we get another elongated down candlestick, we head lower, or we just bounce sideways and consolidate for a while. Natural gas down 5.7%. I'd love for this to get down here again, where it gives me some entry points for some more natural gas shares. Hopefully it gets down there. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, heading a little bit lower, down 0.62% today. It's right at that kind of double bottom area, and I'm not calling for a double bottom. This is, if it were to try to do a double bottom, and do it here. But the momentum is to the downside. If we take a little bit picture view, you can see we got big selling pressure, the upward facing consolidation, and we've broken to the downside. So that still is intact to potentially move lower, and I think we're just seeing what crude oil does. Crude oil starts to head lower, we'll probably see this sell off some more. OIH also following suit. You get a big selling pressure move. Your original bearish engulfing candlesticks at the top there. This does look a little bit bearish, but we could head lower in energy service companies in the short term. It doesn't mean I don't like the companies. I like the companies very much, and I think the fundamentals look really good. So I do think wherever this does bottom out, and I don't know where that is yet, I think it's a good buying opportunity. Newcastle coal futures down a little bit. So I think sideways basing with coal. Sideways to potentially higher eventually. We've got profits with Uranium Trust up 0.74%. We are at support. We'll see if this support holds. And really what I'm watching is the yield curves, seeing what's going on. If they continue to uninvert, that's pressure to the downside. Uranium futures pricing moving sideways, just moving sideways. We've got URA up 1.77%, but they are next to some monster down candlesticks. So could this be a double bottom? It could. But again, whenever you get these big selling pressure moves, it means that there's a lot of sellers still in the sector or stock. So obviously we broke through this trend line there, and we're coming on down. We're getting a bounce, and we're going to see if this holds there. We very well could break that support and head lower. So we're just waiting. The yield curve is not really supporting an inflationary environment. That's when the yield curve inverts. We are uninverting, which is disinflation or deflation if it gets bad enough. But I think it's probably disinflation that we're seeing, which is not supportive of a uranium, just a huge uranium run right off the bat. So URM, yeah, it's up, but we got to get some more big green candlesticks. We don't have any yet. And URNJ. So it'd be hopeful to say that this is 100% a bottom. We got to start to see some buying pressure here. Copper, up 1.64%. Doesn't look bad. It looks like we could try to stage a run higher here. That's a little bit above support. Bigger picture view, that's what we're viewing here, and it looks like it's going to try to turn its way on up, and we'll see if it does that. We've got COPX up 1.4% as well today, and momentum still to the downside, support at 37-ish dollars. Iron ore moving sideways, momentum's definitely to the downside. That is a bear. When you get these candlesticks that go like this, those are bear flags that head lower. Aluminum up 0.9%, momentum still to the downside. I would be patient and just waiting. We've got nickel down a little bit, moving sideways to slightly lower. That looks like a bear flag. I would say I would hold on. There could be some more weakness ahead of us. We've got Moo up 0.36%. This one doesn't look too bad compared to most of the other ones. It's a falling wedge on top of support. And we've broken that and we're working our way on up. Today we were up a little bit, but it doesn't look too bad. And we could bounce around here above support. We've got emerging markets up a little bit. The momentum is still to the downside, has not turned yet. And we are looking for weaker dollar, weaker yields for that to go higher. KRE up 0.82%. We're bouncing around. We got that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 accumulation cylinder. It still looks good to go higher on the longer term. Shorter term, a little bit of weakness in the short term here. TAN down 2%. I don't even know if solar is going to make any money anyway, but it's heading lower. It's heading lower. Lithium up 0.9% right on support. But again, the momentum's to the downside here, guys. This keeps getting selling pressure. And then REMX up 1.76, but still selling pressure. Down, down, down. You got Baltic Dry Index up 1.15. That looks pretty good to go higher, and it's working its way on up. That looks good. We've got XHB up 0.2%. It's just going to float around here. I think lower rates are definitely going to help this, so we need to watch rates. Depending on what rates do, that's where we're going. Russell 2000 up 1.1%. Momentum still to the downside. That's what I see there, and we are just below the support resistance line here. S&P 500 up 1.15%, and the momentum is still to the downside. Some people are saying that we're going to get a blow off top. It's possible that some people are saying that, but it looks awfully weak at the current time. Same with the NASDAQ. Still looks weak to continue lower, and this is an overvalued hot potato, is what I'll call it. SMCI is up 6%, but still looks like complete garbage. I'm not buying it that we're going to bottom. We do get support around $350, $360 where it starts. NVIDIA up 3.5%. This has got to really move for me to be convinced, but there's nothing to convince me to buy this. So bearish engulfing, bearish engulfing, bearish engulfing. There's another one here. I don't know if I'd consider that one down there. They usually occur at tops, at local tops like that. But this still looks like it's got downside momentum, and we'll see if it can turn around here. But NVIDIA, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch this with ex-girlfriend money. BTC up 4.5%. That's looking better. Still in this big sideways jumble here. The pattern is slightly moving down, which is generally a bullish formation. And then Ethereum's also up today, about 2%. This is a bearish formation though, because you've got strong selling pressure coming down with a small bounce, which is generally a pattern that can continue lower. But the bigger picture pattern is facing downward if you look at it from this perspective, and that generally works its way on upward. But we'll see what occurs there. That's what I'll say. I don't have any skin in this game here, so. But that's all I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website. That's where I dive into all that stuff a little bit deeper than what I do here. This is all surface level. I'm not a short-term trader. A lot of people who watch the YouTube channel wants me to do this. So I do this short-term kind of daily technical analysis update. But I don't. I just use it for entry points, and then I hold for the long term. That's my investment strategy and outlook. I do not trade in the short term at all. But I do try to time my purchases as best as I can. But that's what I've got for today, guys. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.